Welcome back. This is the October edition 2024 of NMRA. I'm Speed. I've escaped from the Helix. We're here at the Red River RPM in Forest Hill, which is way closer to Fort Worth than anywhere else in the world. Our first presentation today is with the chairman of the next NMRA National Convention, Station Number 6, 2025. He is an MMR with a long history of service to the NCR region. He was also chairman of the Tri-Regional Convention in Indianapolis in 2022. He is a modeler of the Great Northern Railway and is very active in the Great Northern Historical Society. He models the GN in the Cascade Mountains in 1955 and enjoys timetable and train order operations. Doing most of the talking, however, is the chief registrar for the convention, as well as assistant superintendent for Division 6, the Motor City Division in the North Central region. He returned to model railroading in 2015, having built his first HO layout when he was just 13. He now spends his time building the Eagle West Division of the Santa Fe, running freight from Chicago to Barstow, and passenger service between LA Union Passenger Terminal and Chicago Dearborn Union stations. As you will see when you come to tour the layout next summer, it's the home of the world's only model wonkavator. Please welcome Scott Kramer and Byrne Blumenstein. So Byrne, what can you tell us about NoVI 2025?
Okay, thanks, Speed. Yeah, there's a lot to cover here. It's a pretty exciting convention that we put together. We expect a lot of folks to have a lot of questions about what we're doing because it's pretty different. So part of what we'll be talking about today is not just the convention, but for everybody to be prepared for a convention that's like no other convention you've ever been to before. So with that, let me get into some of the information on the convention itself, the general information, that just as background. The convention itself is going to start a little differently than most of the past conventions. It's actually going to start on 1 p.m. on Monday, on July 14th, 2025. So people will have time to actually get there and not immediately have to go into various sessions or tours. So it's set up a little bit differently from a schedule standpoint. It's a little shorter, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Like any convention, it's going to have plenty of clinics, layouts, visits, plenty of other events that will run all the way through till Saturday at 4 p.m. But it's a little bit more than that. It's not the traditional time and day of most of the conventions. We've kind of adjusted it based on what we've seen some of the challenges with some of the earlier conventions. So we've gone a step farther. So let's get into, first of all, I mentioned that it's somewhat different than most conventions, and that's a key piece of what we want to relay to people today. It is a convention like no other. To be sure, not everything is different. For example, we're still going to have layout visits. In fact, we're planning on having about 58 of them, well, more than 58 that are already committed to the convention. So there'll be plenty of layout tours, plenty of time if that's what your focus is. And of course, we'll have plenty of clinics. And right now, our schedule calls for about 90 clinics. And more interestingly, all of them will be given at least twice. So if the one you want to see is conflicting with another one you want to see, you should have at least 2 chances to see any given clinic. So that's kind of similar to previous conventions to take it a step farther. We're also going to have operating sessions as you're used to. And currently we have over 300 operating session spots available. So anyone who wants to do op sessions, like any convention, we're going to make sure you've got plenty to go to. And of course, we're going to have tours, excursions. There'll be at least one major excursion every single day from Monday all the way through till Friday. So any day that you want to go, there's to be something going on if you don't want to do things that are just at the hotel. And of course, at the tail end, like most conventions, the convention will be followed by the National Train Show. But in the convention we've got coming up, it's strictly going to be Saturday and Sunday. There won't be a Friday day. But in general, that sounds pretty much like most of the previous conventions. So the question is, what's different that we'd like to communicate out to everybody? Well, let's start with the fact that most importantly, it's going to be less expensive. We well know that a lot of people have been concerned about the sheer rising cost of past conventions, everything from the hotel to registration to parking, and we've tackled almost all of those. First of all, when we talk about it being less expensive, it's also going to be a case where we are going to open the convention up to everyone, and everyone will pay the same price. So it's not if you're a member, you pay this, and if you're a non-member, you pay that. First of all, we would like all of the folks who are attending to bring people with them that may not have been to a convention because they may not be an NMRA member, so we can actually kind of bring in new members and see if they'd like what they see. But all the attendees can still participate in all the events for the same price, except that you've got to be an NMRA member to enter the national contest. But whether you're a member or not, the idea is to bring people in. The key piece here, first of all, starting with the registration price itself for the main event, and that's only going to be $125, and that's considerably less than previous conventions. So right off the bat, you're going to be spending less money to go to the convention, and that should bring, of course, more people in. And that includes all of the hotel-based events, other than obviously modeling with the masters and the make and take clinics where you've got supplies that have to be bought. But all the rest of it is included in the package. That includes all the layout visits. You don't pay to go to those. All the op sessions, nothing for that. None of the extra charges that sort of create a real increase in the cost. The ticket also includes the ticket to the National Train Show. If you're bringing a partner with you, that's going to be roughly half. It's $62 to bring a partner. So the objective here is to attract not only folks who would have liked to have gone, but it's become too expensive for them, or people who have not normally gone because they're not members. So we're really expanding who would be able to get the benefit of going to the convention by addressing some of the costs on that part of it. Along those lines, we're changing some other things, not just the dollars and cents, and I'll come back to those a little bit later. The convention this time around is going to be shorter. It's going to start at 1 p.m. on Monday rather than starting on Saturday or Sunday, and it will run all the way through till 4 p.m. the following Saturday. And I've been to conventions where by the time we get to the end of the week, everybody's pretty well whipped. Doing an 7 or 8 day convention is really a challenge for a lot of folks. So what we've done is shortened it a bit, so you're really not spending that much time there. Of course, like any of the conventions, we're going to wrap it up with a banquet Saturday night, but you still get all of the content you expect, but it means you're just simply going to be saving on 1 or 2 hotel nights, which helps you bring the cost down. And of course, you're spending less food and everything else that goes along with it. So we're really making it a little bit easier to attend as well as less expensive to attend. The other big change that we're doing differently is we are doing all the layout visits self-directed. And that's a huge change because most conventions, there are bus tours. There's lots of challenges to bus tours, aside from the fact that it runs up the cost. And when we talk about why most people will be there with cars, you'll understand part of why. But in our particular case, we will not be doing tour buses. Everybody will be able to carpool with other people they meet. A couple of the reasons that we do that. First of all, to do a minimal bus tour runs up the cost, but there's other disadvantages we found to bus tours. So if you go to tour A and you see something you like, but you're on a bus tour, you've only got 15 or 20 minutes, and then you've got to rush to the next tour. And that means if it's a smaller location that can't handle everybody on the bus, a bunch of people are sitting around doing nothing for half an hour because only some people can go see it. The other part is when you get to your next stop, if you realize there's something that you saw on the second tour, but you wanted to see if they did whatever that was on the first location you went to, you can't go back with the bus. If you're on the self-directed tours, you can spend as much time and as many places as you want, and you go back and forth between them. It's just a whole lot more flexible. It's not as impractical as a bus tour is, aside from you saving all the cost on buses. In our particular case, too, a significant portion of those locations are going to be so close within a 15 to 30-minute run, you really don't need a tour to get out there. We're doing relatively few that you're going to spend an hour to go get out to. So it's quick, plus you can get to plenty more places, more than you would necessarily with a bus tour. We were waiting for everybody else to go in. The layout tours are all going to be grouped geographically, and you will see on the website, we'll show you where they are grouped so that you can say, well, today, all of these in a certain area, I'm going to do just the ones in the Northeast, or I'm going to do the ones in the Southeast, or the ones that are close by the hotel location. So there will be layout visit groups every single day, and a given tour for a location may only be available one day, but there will be layout tours that you can go to every day. So if that's what you want to do when you go to the convention, we'll keep you occupied every single day with plenty of tours to keep you occupied. And those will start Monday afternoon when you can get there, and they'll run all the way through to and including Saturday. The layouts are going to be available from various different times, Typically, they're going to start around 1 o'clock. Some of them may start at a different time. Tuesday, since everybody should be there by that point, we can start doing the tours from 9 o'clock. But since everybody's getting there late the first day, it'll just be in the afternoons. And those will run all the way through to Saturday. Saturday itself will end a little bit earlier because we've got the banquets and some other things going on. So they'll stop at 4 o'clock. But every one of them will be open on a specific day. So that's significantly different than most previous conventions, where you had to buy a ticket to go see the layouts. Now, let's talk about just two or three other things quickly that are also different. The operating sessions, like the visits to the layouts, are going to follow a pretty similar schedule. And the clinics themselves are going to starting at 1 o'clock on Monday afternoon. So if you're driving in and you get there Monday morning, you'll still be able to catch things that afternoon. You don't have to get there the night before. Tuesday through Saturday, we'll be starting at 9 a.m. because we figure most people will be there by then. And they'll run till 9 p.m. because folks want to be able to go after the clinics and after what other activities. So they'll be running till quite late in the day. There's another item that's significantly different for the convention, and that's the yard sale. The yard sale is not a silent auction. This is not a case where people will bring things in that they want to sell, and then they put in a bid for it, and they've got to compete with people, and they've got to be there at a certain time. Way more complex than it needs to be, and way more challenging. And for those of you who've been to some of the recent conventions, you well know that if you are at a silent auction type situation, everybody's lined up waiting to find out at one time whether or not they actually win something. With a yard sale, you see it, you pick it up, you bring it to the desk, you buy it, you own it, you're done. Going to make it nice and simple. You don't have to worry about bidding. You don't have to come back at a certain time. It'll be there for you. It's a whole lot more flexible. That's the first time we're doing quite something like this on such a large scale. So that's something else that's going to be different. And it should be a lot of fun to be able to go in and say, no pressure. If I see something I like, I can buy it right away. I don't have to worry about competing with anybody. So those are parts of what's different. Now, there are a couple of other things that we've adjusted. First of all, there will not be a celebration room for this convention. There will be plenty of space for model displays. We're just not doing a celebration room itself. The space for the displays are going to be part of the main social area. So that same area where you're meeting and greeting and getting together with friends, that social area, there'll be plenty of models, plenty of things to see right there in the main area that's kind of the heart of the conference. Keep in mind, too, that we'll be having the convention with the RPM organization, their conference. So there'll be a couple of layouts from RPM as well as our regular roadshow, the TT&TO clinic roadshow, where you'll be able to learn how to operate a layout with TT&TO right there in the lobby. And you can watch other people doing it and learn from what they're doing right there in the main facility. We're also going to do something else that's never been done before. There are a lot of manufacturers that people would like to see or talk to, but they're too small. They cannot afford what it costs to go to the main train show. What we're going to do is have a small area set up where these little small, sometimes mom and pop operations will be given space to demonstrate these cutting edge products that are really not ready for big time at the model train show, but you'll be able to talk to them right there in the main area, and we'll rotate through a couple of different ones over the time of it, and you'll be able to buy products in many cases from them right there in that main area. So it's not just the big guys over at the train show, it's the really small guys who are on the cutting edge of what you probably would never see at the train show and never get a chance to see anywhere else. So that gives you kind of a sense of what's different. Now let's talk about the show itself. The convention is pretty centrally located. One of the key things that people have talked to us about the last convention is they've got to fly someplace, they've got to spend for airfare, and that discourages a lot of folks. If you're flying from New York to California, it costs a bunch. Well, if you look at a map, the Metro Detroit area is within 65% of the U.S.'s population drive time for a single day. So we figured with 2/3 of all the people who would want to go to the convention, all of them are within a day's drive. There's no reason to be buying a plane ticket if you really don't need to. So you don't have to spend for airfare. So that takes a pretty significant chunk of it. And that means people as far south as Kentucky, as Tennessee, Washington, New York, up into Canada, out into Minneapolis, those folks can get here within a day. You don't need to fly. And in many cases, it'll take you less time to drive. even if you allow for all the time it takes you to go to and from the airport and baggage and everything that goes with it. So that's a pretty significant advantage for us that we're that close to that many people. You're going to be able to bring your car with you. And of course, if you have the car with you, that lets you do all the things you'd like to do on your own schedule. Let's talk a little about the location itself. For those of you not familiar with it, the convention itself is going to be in NoVI, Michigan, which is a suburb in the northwest corner of the metropolitan Detroit area. And yes, it is pronounced NoVI. And just a quick comment for the folks who are wondering where that comes from. The very name of the town that we're having the convention in actually has a railroad story behind it. You may know that the Paramaquette Railroad and the stagecoaches before them, in many cases, didn't name the towns that they went to and had stations at. Instead of naming them, they gave them numbers. Well, in the case of the Paramaquette, this particular station in the area where we're going to have the convention was station number 6, which was displayed as the Roman numeral NO.VI. Years later, when the town incorporated and the town was looking for a name, unlike most cities where the train station is named after the town decided to name the town after the train station. And the way they viewed it, it was NOVI, which they pronounce NoVI rather than station number 6. So that instead of the train station having the name of a city nearby, the city has the name of the station. And that's where the convention is going to be. So it's NoVI, although we pronounce it for the name of the show, the convention itself, we do refer to it as station number 6. It will be obviously being the Motor City, obviously it's well able to support people coming in with cars. And if you look at that little picture that I put there down on the lower left, not only is it a town known for being the Motor City, but it's also the birthplace of the traffic light. That picture you see there is actually the first traffic jam around the first traffic light that was on Woodward Avenue in the Detroit area. Let's talk about the hotel. Another reason why we found a lot of the expense for previous conventions was that they were very large resort hotels, which have wonderful amenities, but you pay for it. It costs a fortune. And I can tell you some of the conventions I've been at, my room has been so far away I thought I was in the next state. Just too big a hotel for the purposes. And I had a long walk every time I went back to my room or went to a restaurant. Well, what we've done here was we've decided to take a suburban hotel, major brand name, it's a Sheraton. But what we're doing here is instead of using one huge hotel to support all the rooms we need, we're doing a group of 4 hotels that are all right nearby. The Sheraton itself, we have a block of 143 rooms that are accessible. So you're going to be right there in a hotel, right where the convention is. Don't have to go anyplace if you don't want to leave the hotel property. If you want to go to the others, they're nearby, and most of them have shuttles, so you don't have to drive to them if you don't want them. One caveat, and I'll come back to this a little bit later, being that the hotels are not these gigantic resort hotels, it doesn't take very long with a convention of our size to eat up all of the rooms. So a strong suggestion, and I'll come back to this later, is if you're thinking of going, your first step is going to be register with us on the website, and the second step, I would strongly suggest get your hotel registered because they will run out of rooms at the Sheraton, and you'll have to land up going to one of the hotels that are nearby rather than being in the same building. So keep that in mind. Unlike other conventions where you could wait until 2 or 3 weeks before and go reserve a room, if you do that here, you will not get a room in that hotel. They'll all be sold out. Matter of fact, my understanding is they're already out of one type of room combination already because so many people are booking into the hotel. So make yourself a note that you need to get that hotel room booked right away. Now let's talk about the next piece of this. Being that it's a suburban hotel, it's free parking. Let me repeat, it's free parking. And for the folks who complained about the sheer cost of parking at the last couple of conventions that we've been to on the national level when they've been at resorts, you're not going to be paying $20 a day every single day to go park your car, and even more if you have a hotel where you're paying for coming in and going out of the parking lot. Plenty of free parking. That's the third area that you'll end up saving money on. Now, let's talk about food choices. Another advantage of placing the convention where we did is that unlike some of the large resort hotels, they've only got 1 or 2 or 3 restaurants there, and they're in a location where you've got to go a long way to find anything if you want to leave the hotel property. We've got about 50 hotels within a very short distance of the Sheraton. So there'll be plenty of places to go to, anything from top end restaurants like Fleming's or Mitchell's, all the way to McDonald's or Wendy's. They're all within a few minutes of the hotel. If you want to eat at the hotel, there'll be obviously service there as well. But the point here is your food cost is another area that you'll end up spending a whole lot more because you got plenty of choices that cost a whole lot more than some of the resort hotels. We haven't worked out the pricing yet on what the hotel restaurant menu is going to be in the prices, but you'll have so many choices, should not be an issue for you. So that's another advantage to us. Now, let's talk about the convention itself. We're expecting to have a minimum of 90 different clinics. And every one of them, like I said before, we're going to give them twice. So if you've got a conflict, you should have at least one more chance to see it. We're not expecting to post the full list of clinics until we get a little closer to the convention. So we're targeting around January 1, we're going to post to the website the list of as many clinics that have already been locked down. So you'll be able to look at your schedules and see which ones do I want to plan for and which ones are not or are of interest to you. We're also making an effort to uniquely try to make sure these are fresh and interesting and educational clinics. I can tell you what we're not looking for. We're not looking to do clinics that you've seen 20 people do at 5 different conventions, or that they've done, but they've done it over and over again on YouTube. If you can see it everywhere else, there's no point in coming to look to our convention to give you the same thing you can get everywhere else. So we're looking for fresh content or different approaches to content that's been delivered before. The clinics, like I said, are going to start on Monday, so around 1 p.m., and they will go all the way till 9. Actually, it should be till the end of the day schedule, and they'll start again 9 a.m. Tuesday running through Saturday. So you'll have a pretty wide time slot to work with. But a key piece here is if you're driving in Monday morning, you'll get there early enough that you can catch at least a half a day's worth of clinics running for the afternoon and into the evening. You don't have to come in the day before because there's a bunch of clinics you want starting Monday morning. We're not doing that. They will last until 10 o'clock Monday through Friday until 4 o'clock Saturday. So the folks who are going out on tours or excursions will have plenty of chances to see clinics in the evening if that's what you want to do. Another item I want to remind everybody is that we're going to rear-load the top best clinics at the tail end of the convention. So if you leave early, you're going to miss some of the best because we expect most people are going to be there at the tail end and they're going to want the most interesting ones when they're there. So if you leave Thursday, you're going to miss the top stuff. So try to make sure you scheduled everything all the way through the week. Also, the daily selections are going to be available on something called your online itinerary, personal itinerary. We're going to be doing something, and I'll show it to you in a few minutes, that we have not seen done before, and that is when you see something you like, you'll be able to, if you will, capture that on a personal itinerary on your phone so that you'll be able to take things like the clinics and say, gee, I like these clinics. If I indicate that I like them, I'll be able to check them off my phone. I won't be running around weeks before trying to work out what am I supposed to be doing on Wednesday, what am I supposed to be doing on Thursday. We're going to kind of automate that whole process, and you'll see a little bit more about it shortly. Next, let's talk about the layout visits. One of the differences in Michigan versus some of the other locations that we've had conventions before is we don't have the handicap of where those layouts are. In Michigan, we have basements, lots of them. Almost all of our tours are going to be in full-size basements. The challenge in locations that model railroaders have, if they're in a location where there are no basements, in many cases they're simply limited to the maximum amount of space that might be in a bedroom or might be in a garage. And I've seen lots of garage layouts, and they're beautiful, but they're limited on space. In our case, almost nobody has a layout in a garage. They are all in basements or separate buildings that are with the basements. The layout tours themselves, as I said, there will be no charge for layout tours. So if you're driving out to those during the convention, you can see as many as you want. You go back to them over and over again. We're not going to rip you a bill making you pay to go see layout tours because that's a key piece of the convention. Right now, we are planning, well, currently we have 60 layouts targeted to be available for you. So you will have more than enough visits every single day to be able to spend part of that day going out and visiting other people's layouts. Most of these are home layouts, which means they're large. You might have a home layout that's as small as 200 square feet, but I can tell you the majority of the layouts are 1,000 to 3,000 square feet. They're way bigger than the typical layout size for a home layout at most previous conventions, simply because we're not dealing with high water levels and lack of basements. All the layouts are going to be vetted to make sure that you're going to enjoy and learn from them. All but a very few are home layouts. We do have a few that are club layouts that are spectacular, but the majority of the layouts are going to be home layouts, not club layouts, because they can make layouts that are large enough. The other item is we've all been to conventions where you get a description of the layout and you get there, you've seen a picture of it, but when you show up, gee, it doesn't quite look like that because half of it still looks like plywood and foam. We're looking at layouts strictly that are predominantly completed, so you're seeing something that's really a lot, not just a few scenes that have been completed. All the layouts, like I said, are going to be self-guided, no buses, none of that expense. Now, the program is going to contain a description of every single layout. You'll see them starting to appear on our website already. We're also going to provide QR codes so that if you want to take your phone out, take a picture of the QR code, that will give you the map to get to the layout. You don't need a paper printout of what's the route. Once you got a QR code picked up on your phone, which is nothing more than you take your camera out, point it at the QR code, and up pops a link, and then you just hit the link, and it gives you the Google map, and you're ready to go. You can drive out. You've got your description on how to get there. We will have a larger general map, but we're also going to have on the website all the locations so you get a general sense of where they are as well as where they specifically are. We will not be giving you the addresses until about a week before, obviously, but you'll get the area where they are, so you can kind of plan your logistics. Matter of fact, you could go in today in many cases and see a lot of the layouts and figure out the logistics as to which ones you want to go see. The layout visits are deliberately being done geographically to minimize the drivings. We're obviously going to do them Monday through Saturday. All the daily selections will be available for your online personal itinerary also. So when you go to your personal itinerary on your phone, you'll be able to see, gee, these are the layout tours that I want to go see today. Look at your phone, click on it. You'll be able to take it, take you to the directions right away to get there. So you literally build your own personal itinerary, and you'll probably be able to do that before you even get there without having to go through reams of paper and Google Maps trying to figure out where these places are. The other item for layout visits, a big item, is that we are posting videos for virtually all the layouts, not just photos. So if you go and look at the website, you'll start to see a video that gives you a much, much better sense than just seeing 5 or 6 photographs of a layout. We've all been to layouts, like I said, that look good, but sometimes the rest of it is maybe disappointing or is not as challenging as the areas that you saw in the pictures. With a video, you get a much, much, much better sense of what's being done, and you sort of have a mini tour of what it's like to go to that particular layout itself. By the way, for the folks who may have some mobility issues and, for example, can't go downstairs to basements, the fact that we're going to have videos mean those people will have an opportunity, one way or the other, whether it's on the website or whatever, to actually do a video tour of those layouts that they couldn't go to otherwise. So even if you can't do basements, you're going to get to see layouts, plenty of them, and you'll be able to see videos, not just snapshots. Let's talk about the operating sessions. We're currently working on the op sessions. We're going to give you the ability to operate on everything from car for car to switch list to car cards, prototypical waybills, and of course TT&TO and CTC. We're going to have them all. So any one of those that you're interested in, you'll have a pretty broad view of which ones to go to. We're expecting about 20 or more layouts providing operating sessions, so you'll have plenty of choices. And we'll hopefully we'll have those every single day. So you don't want to leave early because in many cases you can have the opportunity in the afternoon to go to an op session or an evening. You'll be signing up through the op sessions through our website after January 1. We're holding until that date. So you just go back to NMRA 2025. You'll see a link there for the op sessions. It will take you out to a unique website just for that purpose. And then you'll be able to say, okay, here's the op session I want to go to. Is it full or not? You'll know whether or not all the positions or any positions are still available there. And again, once you select it, you'll be able to put it on your online itinerary. So you'll know, hey, Wednesday, that afternoon, I've got a op session that I want to go to. So there's your reminder right on your phone that it's there on your schedule. Contests. Very quickly to go through what's happening there. The traditional National Model Rating Contest will be available to all the NMRA members. That will be in a separate room, and that's being managed by the National Contest staff. And of course, there'll be an award ceremony for the contest. That'll be Thursday afternoon. The only limitation there is you've got to be a NMRA member to enter in that contest, but it'll be available for everybody to look at and see what the results are. And those are usually pretty amazingly interesting. We're also going to have displays of People's Choice Contest type of displays, where you can look in and see, well, if you're interested in freight cars or structures, whatever, the models will be invited to, identify the models as participating in the People's Choice and display it there. Any NMRA member can or not, but they can enter the People's Choice, but you can only enter typically one contest or the other. Either you're going to enter it at a national or you're going to try the People's Choice. Each category will be sponsored for the appropriate manufacturers. So they're going to hopefully provide a $100 gift certificate for first place and $50 for second place. So please, try to enter those. There's always a good chance you can win something. And Friday afternoon, you'll see what the awards are. Excuse me. Okay, the display and modular area. This is going to be the hub of the convention. So you'll have a large central area where you can see layouts. You can see people doing learning about op sessions. You have the displays from these various vendors. There'll be social areas, plenty of room to sit down and talk with your friends. Meet people, find out who's going to what layouts, so you can decide if you want to ride with them. So that will be sort of an interesting hub, rather than just a corridor in a hall. Of course, we're doing the SIG groups, special interest groups. So we will be providing facilities for the SIG groups. Some of their schedules can be changed from the traditional time. So if you've been going to the SIG events, keep in mind, typically they start during the weekend at the head end of the convention. And since we're not starting until Monday, it's not going to start Sunday. So it'll be a little bit of a different schedule. You want to see those on the website. But if you register for the SIG events, it does include shirts, but you have the choice of, do you want to pay for the dinner as well or not? The SIG events, once you schedule those, once you register for those, they're also going to be on your personal itinerary. So again, you'll be able to look at your phone and see, gee, what do I have today? It might be that dinner is that particular day. The rail yard sale that I talked about before, real quickly, it is really a yard sale. You can bring any piece of railroad item that you're thinking of selling. Tuesday morning, you can drop it off. The necessary forms will be there. They'll be on the website. You can just bring it in. Not a silent auction, but the items will begin Wednesday and possibly Thursday being open. Everybody should have brought them in by then. You'll be able to go in anytime Wednesday afternoon that's on your schedule. You establish what the sale price is. The convention takes 10% of the price to cover the billing and so on, facilities, and the rest is basically you leave with a payment. So if you got something good that you want to get rid of, this is the time to do it. Roadshow, that's long been a tradition for the conventions where we've set up a full large modular layout that you can actually learn time and train order operating sessions. And I've seen in the past where folks have had a really great time. We're going to set that up out in the lobby so everybody can see it and watch it rather than being in the main area in Ballroom B right next to the displays in the other areas, so that everybody can come in and go out and see what's it like to actually do an op session on a layout. And that's going to run all the way through till Friday night. So you'll have plenty of time to either just have fun learning or just watch. Okay, vendors. I mentioned this before. There's not a large area for vendors. We're not doing a train show at the convention. But we are going to have a space for about 8 vendors Tuesday and Wednesday and another 8 more Thursday and Friday. The little guys who are just starting out with maybe the latest cutting technology, maybe they're real small, but they'll have a setup there that will be available for you to take a look at. Even if you don't want to go to the train show, you'll actually have things that you can see and buy at the convention itself. These are small guys. They might be doing resin kits or 3D printed items or whatever. Some things that will be totally unexpected. And again, that's something unique. Modeling with the masters, if you've been to conventions before, those are sessions to get to work and build something, learn how to do some process with the absolute masters of our sessions. So there will be modeling with the masters almost every single day. You'll see those. And of course, once you register for those and pay for them, they'll also be available in your online agenda. For the folks who are not going to the rail activities, of course, we'll have non-rail events set up as well at the hotel. So if your spouse is coming and wants something to do, we'll give them plenty. Let's talk about some of the real crown jewels of the trip, the tours and excursions. First of all, the lead one will be Greenfield Village and Henry Ford Museum. If you've never been there or never heard of it, it's one of the most spectacular and largest history museums in the United States. It is so large. If you look at the picture on the left, that's an entire Allegheny steam engine sitting indoors on the floor of the Henry Ford Museum, and that's not the only steam engine there. On the outside, for Greenfield Village, You can take a ride behind a steam engine and get up close with one there and get the smells and sights and scents. So, of course, we're going to have steam engines both indoors and outdoors for you to see. That's just a part of Greenfield Village. For those of you not aware of it, it's got plenty of other things, everything from the limousine that Kennedy rode in Dallas to what a hotel room looked like in Holiday Inn in the 1950s that we might remember. That's a major, major tourist attraction in the Detroit area, so you certainly want to look at details to register for that particular tour. The next item is the Ford plant, and I would be willing to bet that probably half of the folks who are on this call are driving a pickup truck, because that's the most common vehicle being built in the United States and sold in the United States. Well, it's great if you got one, but how'd you like the chance to actually see what it's like to see your type of vehicle being built? Well, you can now. Ford has set up a plant tour. That's a pretty heavy-duty thing to go see. Everybody comes away from this absolutely amazed and learns a whole lot about, gee, now I know more about my truck than I thought I knew. You'll definitely want that. So that tour we expect to be sold out long before the convention date. That's probably the #2 most popular tourist attraction in the Detroit area. The next thing we're doing, well, we're not doing the typical bus tours. We're going to do a tour out on the water instead of in a bus, which will take you past the Rouge Plant industrial area, but it'll also take you under the newest major bridge being built in the United States between the Detroit area and Windsor, Ontario, the Gordie Howe Bridge. It is the longest cable stay bridge in North America. There are people who are actually going to be coming into the Metro Detroit area just to see this enormous bridge and see what it's like. It's the largest bridge of its type in some areas, particularly in terms of poured concrete roadway in the world. So it's an amazing bridge, and it's an international bridge, and you'll be sailing right under it on that tour as well on the way. So a lot of folks are going to say, hey, it's summertime, I want to do something really outdoors. That's a great way to do it. It may be the spouses want to do that. Next item. One of the amazing things that's gone on in the last few months in the Detroit area, we've added to our itinerary, we're going to do a drive-by tour of Michigan Central Station. If you're not familiar with it, when this thing was built, it was the tallest train station in the world. You're talking about a 17-story monster designed by the same people who did Grand Central Station in New York, which is why the front of it looks like Grand Central Station on a small scale. The problem with that particular building was it was abandoned for a long time. It was just a rundown building. You can see in the lower left the pictures of the graffiti. It's been completely restored. Our guest speaker on at the banquet will be one of the folks on the architectural team that actually restored that building. Ford Motor Company bought it, and to launch that building so that the rest of the country knew about it, they actually did an NBC broadcast with a full-blown concert to introduce a couple little bands here and there. The lead singer that started off the launch concert for Michigan Central was Diana Ross. She was followed by Jelly Roll, Eminem, Jack White. It was a spectacular, spectacular broadcast show shown all over the country to introduce that station. So there are a lot of people coming in to actually see Michigan Central Station. There's a possibility we may end up getting a better look at the inside of it, but we're certainly you're going to get to see a whole lot more of it during the banquet. On that same tour, and I mentioned Diana Ross, most of us grew up to the sound of Motown music, playing those songs, singing those songs. Well, how'd you like to be able to stand in the room where all that music that you sang and learned to and danced to when you were younger? That's the Motown Museum. That museum will be part of the same tour as the Michigan Central tour. So you'll actually be able to get to see the history of railroading in the Detroit area with Michigan Central and the history of music in the Detroit area with Hitsville USA's museum. They'll all be on the same tour. There will be a bus tour, but it will be a spectacular tour. Obviously, because it's Motown and Motown music, that one we expect to have sold out long before the convention comes around. So again, another reason you need to get yourself registered pretty quickly. Whoops, wrong way. Let me go back the other way here. Now, let's talk about the follow-ups. The grand finale of the convention that we're working on is the ride behind 1225. If you're not familiar with it, that is the engine that was used to create the movie Polar Express. And yeah, there are plenty of Polar Express type tours all over the country. This is the original. The sound crews that did that movie actually did that movie at the Steam Institute using the actual 1225. So we will have a tour running 1225, and we may be joined by another historical group. So we expect several hundred people to want to go on that particular ride. And it's an amazing engine to see and to see it up close. And that's what the Steam Railroading Institute will be doing on our convention excursions. So that's expected to be the Friday convention that will really wrap things up. And again, we expect that one to sell it pretty quickly too. Next, National Train Show, of course, we'll be working with the folks on the National Train Show side. That's going to be at the Suburban Showcase. It's big exhibition hall, way bigger than is typical. That's only a few minutes away from the hotel. Parking is usually pretty expensive. It's $8 to $10, but we're going to include the opportunity for you to buy a shuttle ticket to get over there. The advantage of the shuttle ticket, of course, is you can go back and forth as many times as you want. So if you want to go there Saturday and then you forgot to buy something, you want to go back Sunday, you may have that option. But the point is, at least one day we're going to have a shuttle bus going across. Right now, if I'm correct, Scott, we're not going to do Sunday.
That's correct.
But you'll be able to go back and forth 2 or 3 times Saturday if you want to, which is really the intent. Most people obviously do this the same day. That will be there right from the hotel. Schedule will be available, and you'll be able to see what day it is. Of course, that will also be on your personal itinerary. So to wrap up the convention itself, we will have a Friday night party at the hotel for the People's Choice Awards. That'll run from 9 p.m. until 1 a.m. And you'll actually be able to make a choice if you want to have pizza and pop, or pizza and wine, or pizza and beer. You'll have 3 different choices for what you'd like to have at that event for that party. Some will cost a little bit more than others, so you can get and pay for just what you want. The next piece is the main Saturday night banquet. That will be at the hotel. The architect that led the registration teams for Michigan Central will do a full presentation on how it went from the picture you see in the middle, covered with graffiti, to this beautifully restored facility. That is where the concert was. And matter of fact, you'll see in the upper right corner, there's Diana Ross when she was doing the broadcast concert from right in front of Michigan Central Station. So you'll actually be where she is when you drive by there, and you'll hear all about that, and of course the concert when you are at the Saturday night, the grand banquet. Now, pricing, let me kind of wrap up with that. The most important aspect of the convention is really to make sure it's available to as many people as possible, less costly as possible. The hotel rooms are only going to be about $140 to $180 a night, way less than what you've paid at previous conventions. Plus, all the parking is free. That's another way you save. Everyone's welcome. So if you've got non-NMRA members, they get to pay the same price as you. They don't pay more. Standard registration for members and non-members will be that $125, and that includes the National Train Show entrance. Spouse tickets will be $62, and if you bring in a child from 11 to 17, that's only $20. If they're younger than that, they're free. We will have one-day only tickets, so if you're only able to go to the convention for a single day, that'll be a $40 ticket, and you can get, if you just want to be there, let's say for Friday and Saturday to do the show and some of the other events, you'll obviously be able to get a 2-day ticket, and that's $60. All the layout visits, all the op sessions, everything else is self-guided. They're all basically free. The shuttle transportation is only $10. So again, that's pretty inexpensive. So that kind of wraps up the key pieces. The last item I wanted to cover with you in the next 2 or 3 minutes is the way registration is going to be done. It'll be entirely done via NMRA2025.com. You'll be able to register for the events. It's a very, very, very simple website. We've got a lot of positive comments to make it real easy to use. It's just a few lines. We're not filling it up with all sorts of purchases and details and complexities and bus tickets, keeping it absolutely to the minimum. You select what you want from just a quick list, but that registration allows you to indicate both fee items and non-fee items. So you can say, I want to go to this particular layout tour area. You can put it on your agenda, capture it there, and you'll see what's available. And the system won't let you accidentally register for 2 different items that conflict with each other. It's all going to be automated. Plus, you'll be able to go in there and get the Google Maps to see where you want to go and what sequence you want to go in them. Anything that you select will automatically create a personal agenda that you can go back to on your phone. To give you a quick look at it, after you've registered, when you go over to your phone, go back into the website, you'll see this little menu there that will let you pick your itinerary. And that itinerary will basically be built from all the different items for each different day that you have checked something off. So if you see in the upper right, you'll be able to look at Monday's schedule, for example, for you, all the things that you've either paid for or that are available to you that you've indicated that you like. And you'll be able to build that personal itinerary. Plus, you'll be able to build your schedule on a geographic level. So you'll be able to go into this website and say, hey, these are all the different locations that there are tours, layout tours. There's where the hotels are. There's where the campgrounds are. But if you're only interested in going to the ones, let's say in the Northeast, you would just uncheck the box in the left for all the areas you're not interested in. And there you got a personal map that shows you just the locations that you want to go to. And then you'll land up with a map like this that just is your personal map showing just what you want. And the itinerary that I mentioned, when you open your phone and go to that schedule for the day, you can click on, let's say, Wednesday, and right there on your phone is the list of everything that's either available to you or that you paid for. So it'll give you a reminder, hey, I've got the LD SIG layout tour available to me from 9 to 6. I want to see the road show. That's at 9 o'clock in the morning, but I got the weathering clinic first thing. On the other hand, at the bottom, the Detroit Model Railroad Club layout tour is available from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So, gee, now I know I've got time to do that after I get the others done. And you can just pick the individual day that you want. And in the upper right, you can also see where it says all tracks. Well, you can say, I don't want to look at everything. I want my personal itinerary to just show me the clinics for the day. So now I don't have to shuffle through paper. I can see all the clinics that day that I'm interested in, or just the layout tours, or when the modeling the masters are, if I've got that schedule for the day, or when the operating sessions are for that day. So you literally build your own little itinerary real simply by just picking them or paying for them, and it's right there on your phone. So it makes it nice and easy to use that tool, which gives you another reason to do this. So that's basically what we have built for you. When you go to the website now, you'll be able to register today, be able to have the links there for the hotels. You'll have the videos to the layouts. There's lots of videos to go see on the layouts. Start looking through them right away so you can decide which ones you want. And that is pretty well where we are at this point. That is station number 6. That's what we've got in NoVI. Be prepared for a convention that's like none you've ever seen before. So with that, why don't we just open it up for questions and see if there's anything.
Can I have a couple minutes, Byrne?
Yeah, why don't you take it from here if you would take questions?
I just have a couple things I wanted to say. Some people might want to know why and why we're doing what we're doing in broader terms. Okay, one of the things I want to make clear to everybody is that we have tried very hard to honor the past, all the traditions, the things that people have gone to conventions for years. We've tried to honor that. But we've also tried to look to the future and say, is there something we need to change in order to attract young people and people that have different interests, like railroad prototype modelers, like narrow gauge people, O gauge people, N gauge people? Because the truth of the matter is, we're in competition with a whole bunch of other conventions throughout the year. So a lot of what we've done is to try to do that. We've tried to make this convention far more flexible. You'll have more choices about what you want to do and how you do it, where you go, etc. But most importantly, we've really tried very, very hard to drive down the cost as much as we can. We think that we're going to be, for an average person, you can come to this convention and do everything you want to for perhaps as little as 30% of what you would have paid for almost any previous convention. We'd like to think that that will cause a lot of new people to come to the convention, not only to enjoy the convention, but also to explore the NMRA and perhaps join us and increase our membership. So that's the background between what we're doing. We hope it makes a change. That's all I wanted to add. If we can get questions, and we'll see what we can do with those.
Yep. Okay, so let's go to questions. Speed, if you want to take it from there and open it up for Q&A.
What is the best international airport for people coming in from Europe and Australia?
That is Detroit Metro Airport, DTW. It is a major, major international airport. It's one of Northwest Airlines' major hubs. It's probably the 4th or 5th largest airport in the United States and the top-rated airport in the U.S.
You just aged yourself. It's actually Delta.
It's right. Delta is and Delta has so many flights going there from all over the world, but Ultra Canada. So you'll have plenty of choices. Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's the Detroit Metro, and it's only 18-minute drive.
Does NoVI have an Amtrak station?
NoVI doesn't, but the nearest Amtrak station is the Dearborn station. And that Dearborn station is probably about the same distance from the airport. Or to put it differently, you can probably get your bags. You can probably get to the hotel from Dearborn or from Metro Airport and less time that'll take to get your bags. Yep.
So from the airport, how do I get to the hotel?
Several ways. Most commonly, people are simply using Uber. There are some hotel shuttles, but it'll actually cost you less to use Uber or any of the ride shares. That's the most common method they use nowadays. Very easy to do.
However, we do want to emphasize that if at all possible, everyone should try to get a car and drive.
Yep. And you can rent cars at the airport, of course, if you want.
Are there still slots available for clinics, and how could I sign up for one to give a clinic?
Yes, there's still plenty of slots available for clinics. We've got quite a few in the hopper, but more that we're working on. If you go to the website and if you look at the screen I've got in front of you, up the top it says contact us. Just hit the contact button and fill in your name and information, and we will definitely have Andy Kinney, who's our clinic manager, reach out to you and talk to you about bringing you on board. Sure, we'd love to have you.
And then someone, or actually more than one, asked about small layouts. Are there any layouts going to be set up in the convention space, or do you have an idea of how many small layouts are on the list of layouts to go see?
Okay.
There will be only the 3 layouts at the hotel we talked about. There are 2 layouts coming from the Railroad Prototype Modelers Conference, one in N and one in HO scale. They're simply outstanding. There will also be the 3rd one, which is the modular N-scale layout to support the roadshow, timetable, train order, operation, and so on. Those are the only layouts that will be in the hotel. This is not a great big resort hotel. We don't have a lot of space. It's going to be interesting, but no, there will be no other layouts on display at the hotel. As to small layouts in general, we don't have a lot of those. We have, as Byrne said, we have pretty good sized basements, and most of our layouts are decent sized. So if you want to go see a 100 square foot layout, personally, I don't even know of any.
Yeah. My layout is probably one of the smallest, and it's 500 square feet, and I would bet it's the smallest of any that I've seen from our Division 6.
Okay. Any streaming to the virtual world from this convention?
We haven't gotten that far.
Nope, at this point, no.
There's a real possibility, but we haven't gotten that far.
Then there's a question for Brad, who can unmute himself with 3 clicks, I believe. Will the NMRA X team have a meet and greet session? Click, 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 click. That was 3 clicks.
Of course we will.
And then last question for the convention team. Can you give us that website one more time?
Yep, it is real simple. You see it actually in the top of the screen. If you go to NMRA2025.com, that's all you need to know to get to the website. And real simple.
Well, gentle people, thank you very, very much. We're all very excited to admit that we already signed up, so you might have to deal with us being there, both me and Brad. And thank you for telling the rest of the world about it as well.
Okay. Speed, I'll leave you with this. We've already have over 200 registrations in the first 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's coming in faster now. Let me go back to one final piece to wrap with. When I said you need to register right away, we've had conversations that this is a convention we have the potential to have to cut off registration because we might run out of room. There's so many people trying to get into the convention. You need to register now, first come, first serve.
But can't we fill up station number 7 as well?
I wish.
Yeah, no can do. Nope, that would overload the engine.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.